all you cool cats and kittens. It's Carol Baskin here with Robin Greenwood from Elmira's, and she has a work group here today. They are deconstructing some cages that will be going to Elmira's to expand an enclosure for Stanley Bear.
Yep, Stanley the Grizzly. It's recycling at its best.
I love that. And
yes.
I'm so glad you can use it.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, I tell you, Stanley the Grizzly will definitely be looking forward to this. We have been accumulating materials for the last couple of years to give him about a 1 acre expansion. And of course, as we've talked about before, bears have a lot more requirements than tigers. So,
really?
Well, for instance, technically it's supposed to be roofed, but we can use it as a play area. And, you know, we were able to get a deviation with Fish and Wildlife, but we still have to go up pretty high. Then also, he has to have some kind of underground berm, either a concrete, like wall about 3 foot underground, so he can't dig out because he can dig, or some kind of fence panel that goes underground like 3 feet into the enclosure. So he's going to need that. You know, we do have a lot of 9-gauge chain link that we took from a prison a few years ago. So between that and what we get from you, we should have a lot of the materials to do Stanley's enclosure. So we are hoping we have a volunteer general contractor. So we're hoping that, as the Animal Warrior said, I guess we're going to be putting it back up again sometime. And yep. Yep. So this has been really great, though. You know, we've got Elmira's volunteers out here, and we have Big Cat Rescue volunteers and Animal Warriors volunteers, and you know, everybody's having a good time. And
so tell people how you got started and who you are and what you do.
well, again, my name is Robin, and we are Elmira's Wildlife Sanctuary, and we are a true sanctuary, just like Big Cat, although we do have a variety of animals instead of just big cats, although we do have a handful of tigers and leopards and some little cats, bobcats, servals, you know, basically what you got here. But we also have Stanley the Grizzly Bear, and so we're, you know, taking this down for him. I actually got involved, I kind of inherited everything. My husband and his good buddy and sometimes business partner had been rescuing a few animals that they had at his property out in Waimama. He had 50 acres out there. And so as the laws changed here in Florida, and they eliminated private pet ownership for exotics, class 1 exotics and things like that. And so, okay, you know, we're going to be a business. What kind of business are we going to be? Well, we're going to be a sanctuary. But shortly after we incorporated, my husband Ted passed away, and then a year later, the property owner and his partner passed away, which left me, because his family, the partner's family, didn't want to have anything to do with the animals. So by this time we had already incorporated, and you know, we knew what kind of sanctuary, and we had a good passel of volunteers. So we up and moved a couple miles down south in Waimama, and fortunately we were able to purchase the property there. So Elmira's has a permanent home. But while we were incorporating, we were like, well, what are we going to name this place? You know, and we came up with a bunch of stupid names because I'm not creative. And finally Ted said, just name it after the bear. And we had this baby bear, Elmira, and we loved her very much. And so we named the sanctuary after her. So it is Elmira's Wildlife Sanctuary. Unfortunately, the sanctuary, at one point we had like 5 or 6 black bears. And Elmira was the first to go. She got liver cancer, so she was way too young. But now we don't have any black bears anymore. So.
And did your black bears come from the pet trade or from
rehab
rejects?
A little bit of no, none of them were rehab rejects. Pet trade. Well, Elmira was an accident, but the other bears, there was a facility you may remember, Horseshoe Creek Wildlife Preserve in Polk County. Oh yeah, you remember that.
I never knew they had bears.
Oh yeah, they did, and we took 4 bears from there. And then we had, I don't know if you remember, a few years ago, BCSA reached out and they needed somebody to take a bear that had been in somebody's backyard for 20-some years. And so Turpentine Creek, which is, you know, where your cats are going, they brought the bear to us. And we had her for a few more years before she passed away. So that's pretty much where our black bears came from. Stanley, the grizzly, also pet trade. As you know, all the tigers, of course. And they, you know, several of them also came from Horseshoe Creek Wildlife Preserve. And so that we went from having just a few animals to all of a sudden we had all kinds of animals. So, you know, we're in it for the life of the animals. It's to give them the best life possible. Elmira's is their place. It's not our place. We're just there to serve them. And, you know, so I just been kind of doing it ever since. I do everything from CEO to poop scooper, you know, but you have to.
And it sounds like you started about the same time that we did, and so
Yeah,
what I saw,
a little bit later, but not much.
what I saw was like this arc of need from
Yes,
all these animals
yes.
being bred and discarded, and now
Yes,
it's coming back down.
it is coming back down.
And
It
so
really
at our
is.
peak,
And-
we had like 200 cats.
oh, I
and-
remember we had like 20 tigers,
Dang.
and then plus all the bears, and at one point I think we had 9 leopards.
I remember you had a bunch.
Yeah,
of
well,
leopards.
we had 4 lynx, although one of them was yours.
That's a long story.
Yes, it is. And we had probably 4 or 5 cougars. Now we just have 1 cougar, and we had I think 3 or 4 servals. So yeah, and now, you know, 1 bobcat, 1 savannah, 1 cougar, 5 tigers, 1 bear, and 2 leopards. And the leopards are old.
You still have the turtle?
2. Got 2 tortoises. Yeah, they'll be around forever. We figure when Darlene and I retire, we're going to leave them the birds, Stanley maybe, and the 2 tortoises. And maybe some lemurs, because we found that lemurs can live a long time too. Yeah, oh, that's right. We have 5 lemurs. We have 5 lemurs. Oh yeah, them too. Like I said, we have a variety. The birds were all pets. The lemurs, most of them were pets. We've had more lemurs than this. You know, we've lost them over the years. We have 1 lemur that has had 3 husbands, who she's outlived, and she was with a 4th one, but he started picking on her. So, but she's still with us. She's in her 30s, has no
Wow.
eyes. Yeah, I know.
had no idea.
And me neither.
I took all our lemurs to Lynn Cooney back
Yeah.
like 15 years ago, 20
Yeah.
years ago.
So yeah, no, she has been around. We had her back at when we were in the first place, when my husband and his partner were still alive. We had like, I don't know, 8 ringtails and this pair of browns. Well, the female brown is still with us.
Tell me what a day at Elmira's is like.
Well,
It's
actually,
probably all different, so you can tell me different days.
yeah, well, no,
Mondays
actually,
are
they're
like
not.
this.
Actually, no, they're not, except for like tour days. Actually, they're pretty much the same, and they actually, I think they operate a lot like you guys do, just from, you know, talking to Jen and everybody. For instance, you know, the first thing we come in, you know, somebody comes in, you know, the lead person that comes in. I think you call them master keepers, and we just call them lead keepers. But that person comes in and unlocks everything and does a walkthrough through the whole sanctuary just to make sure nobody got out and everybody's okay and all those wonderful things. And then, you know, we prep all the food for all of the different animals, the cats and the small, what we call the little guys. Stanley is also a little guy, even if he is very tall. So we have the little guys and the cats, and we prep all the food, and then everybody goes out, and we do tend to stay together as we go. And like one group goes and feeds the little guys. They don't do any of the class 1 animals. And then the lead keeper and sometimes somebody else goes around and does all the cat feeding and all that kind of good stuff. It's not always the lead, but if you're going to feed cats, you got to be around for a while before we're going to let you, get up there and feed the cats. And I think you guys probably have a very similar policy. Nobody's feeding the cats until they've been around for a while, and we're talking years. We're not talking 6 months. We're talking a couple of years before people get up there and are allowed to feed the cats. But they still have to clean. They clean the enclosures, and so they get to interact outside, obviously. But they get to interact with cats. We got to shift them around, and so after we fed everybody, we come back and do some basic cleanup, and then we all go out together and we clean all of the enclosures. That the little guy enclosures get cleaned at feeding time. And then we go out in the afternoon, and that's when we do enrichment, and we clean all of the enclosures and do yard work and things like that. So one thing, and I tell this to my volunteers, especially the ones that want to go into zoology, they want to work at some kind of animal facility, not necessarily a vet. I tell them, doesn't matter where you are, you do the same things. You are going to make food, you are going to clean up poop, and you are going to do yard work.
Lots of yard work.
Lots of yard work. Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much a day at Elmira's. Everybody, pitches in and does everything. the place, you know, it looks good. I wish we had, you know, all these trees and everything like you guys do. But our trees are growing. I think you remember maybe when you came out the very first time, way back when, and the trees were pretty small. You told me your trees will grow. Ours were small too.
They were.
And
Everything
now
here
they
has
have
been
grown
planted.
up, and you know they aren't quite as big as these, but you know, so it's nice. So
Give it time.
that, you know, all of our cats are older. Our leopards are 19 and 21, and then our tigers range from like 15 to 18. So you know they're not young I mean they're all pretty healthy, but they're still not young. So you know, hopefully, you know, we can leave it in the hands of, you know, some people that maybe not be as experienced as Darlene and I, but they're perfectly capable of taking care of the animals, and there's not as much risk, I guess, is what I'm looking for. I mean, if a lemur gets out,
It's not going to kill anybody.
well, I don't know, man. I got a ringtail, rip your face off. But in general, no. No, in general, they're not going to kill anybody. They're more likely going to get killed. And unfortunately, you know, well, out in Waimama, there's a lot of bobcats and you know, predator animals, hawks and eagles and things like that. I mean, like here, you know, it's so lush and beautiful, and we forget that, you know, the Veterans is right there, and Cypress Creek Mall is right there, or not Cypress
Planes
Creek.
are flying over because the airport's right there.
Because the airport's right there. We forget that we're surrounded by, you know, so we probably have a lot more wildlife, you know, out there, a lot more predators and all that. So you know, but again, like if something gets out, it's probably not even going to leave the property. I'll be honest with you, if our tigers got out, I don't think they'd leave the property. So, but still, you don't want to be put in that position, you know. Hopefully, like, you know, so many other places where they've had to shoot because they don't have any choice, and you know, tranquilizing doesn't work. So we try and, well, like you guys, you know, we have very similar. In fact, I probably picked up some of my policies just from coming out here, you know. I know I picked up the wire gates that you guys do. That's how we started doing it too. I was like, oh hey, why don't we just do that? Because we had these plastic things like construction barrier plastic, that orange stuff, and we would just string that across. And I was like, y'all, we got all those pieces of horse panel, we're gonna make some gates.
And to this day, our fences, our barricades, and our gates are the thing I hate most about this sanctuary, because I've never figured out a better way to do that.
There really isn't. I mean, like, I thought about rope, but that's not secure enough. So we basically have, ours is a little bit higher, but it's the same. It's you know, the field fence. It's not the heavy duty that, but it's still the same kind of thing. Field fence with poles. It's not pretty, but that's, you know, the way it is.
You mentioned there was a bit of a difference between regular days and tour days. Do you have specific tour days?
We do tours on the weekends. We don't necessarily do them every Saturday and Sunday, and not necessarily every weekend. We try, however,
is it by appointment?
it is by appointment. Yes. When the days when we have enough volunteers to have tours, it's kind of like today we're having tours.
Really? You had enough people there and here?
Oh, believe me, one of them canceled, so I've got one person there, and then another person that can back her up if necessary. and then the regular keepers are there too. But I have one of the volunteers that would normally be with us today is cleaning Stanley's pool, and so she's prepared to back up the tour if she needs to. But it's a small tour. So once enough tour guides will sign up, and then we have an online booking to where you can go through our website and pick that up. Usually there's like 20 spaces for each tour, and you can go online and pick your day, whatever days we have available. Like right now we're scheduled out, we've got tours available through July. And you pick your day and book it, and you just pay them, and then show up.
That makes it so much
It
easier.
really,
with tours to have that ticketing option.
Oh, that has made it huge. Because we used to, you know, we'd put the sign, we'd be just automatically open, which meant Robin did a lot of the tours. We'd be automatically open, we'd put the signs out, and people would show up or they wouldn't show up, you know? And it was just like, this is killing me. And so after COVID, when we reopened after COVID, I just, you know, said, this is going to kill me. We're going to do it this way now. And then if people want to go, and they do, they book. You know, it's not a problem. I mean, pretty much everybody.
It was a godsend when we were doing
Yeah. Well, I think that you're the one that got me to do that too. Really get into it. Everybody that wants to volunteer with us wants to take care of animals, You know,
and that was true here too. They really did not want to do tours.
I know, and it is a struggle, but you know, it's for us, it's income. Unfortunately, I'm still working on it. I'd like to have some more passive sources of income. You leverage that very well, but I just, you know, I guess I'm just so hands-on that it's hard to, you know, focus on that kind of thing.
I think the tours are really necessary, and they
But
serve a purpose.
they really do, and they educate people. They really do. They educate people. I don't know how often I've had somebody on a tour, especially with the lemurs, and they're like, "Oh, that's cute. I want one," and I'm like, "No, you don't." I said,
Look at my scars.
Well, actually, I do have lots of those now that you mentioned. Those are primarily baby bear scars, but yeah, I got lots of those. That and fencing. That's my other scars.
The fencing is the worst part
It
of this.
really is.
Up.
I know. I have like gouges in my knees from falling on fencing. You know. So yes, fencing is biggest danger if you ever work with animals is the fencing.
Here, I'll go long. All right.
The other way.
Yeah, just kind of.
Oh, yeah? No.
What?
You want this on the inside.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
Sorry. I didn't run quick.
It's all good.
Quality control at its finest.
A question for you. So how do you feel? You've been working on this, the passage of the Big Cat and Public Safety Act for about as long as I've known you. So how do you feel? Do you feel, I don't know, vindicated, let down? It's all over?
I am so thrilled.
I'm so thrilled it happened. Yeah, that's awesome. It really is.
It's one of those things where when we first set out to do it, which was with Tippi Hedren back in the 90s, I thought, this has got to pass. I mean, it makes sense, right? People shouldn't have tigers in their backyard. And then it was like 25 years of banging our heads against the wall.
I know. I was amazed too, because even with Ted and David before, you know, we were sanctuary or anything, they still weren't stupid like so many. I mean, even when they were, you know, they were technically private owners, you know, because it was legal back then. But they still, you know, they built big enclosures. They even, you know, they might have, you know, been with them when they were babies, but they didn't go in with adult tigers and lions. They did a lot on the outside, and they were more, you know, they were definitely a little too hands-on for me. But anyway, like I said, I inherited them. I changed a lot of things when I inherited everything.
I know what that's like.
Yes. Oh, yes, you do. Yes, you do. That's true. You do.
No, we do not take our leopards with us when we go yard sailing. That's
yes,
just not going to happen anymore.
Right. That's right. That's right. Yes, I do not take the leopards. But I remember even, you know, little taking like a fennec fox or a lemur to a fair or something, and everybody loved it. But I was like, they don't like it, the animal. They don't like it, so I'm not going to do this anymore. You know, because they just didn't like it. If they liked it, it'd be different, but they don't. So I just didn't do it anymore. So, but yeah, you know,
the animals teach us a lot in this
they
industry.
really do. They really do. I think about how I felt about everything when we first started, before we came a sanctuary, when Ted and David were still alive and everything, and you know, it seemed like a business then, you know. And then as I got to know the animals and I started working with the animals, and then especially after they died and I took over with the animals, not that I was already kind of in charge, but anyway, we won't go there. And just, I guess, being with these animals for the majority of their lives really has taught me a lot. Like, I had no clue a tortoise had a personality.
I would not expect that.
But yeah, they do. They do, you know.
And what kind of personality do your tortoises have?
Oh, well, like for instance, our sulcata, who is, I don't know if you're familiar, like a lot of times they'll see a big tortoise going down the road. It's not a gopher tortoise. It's usually an African sulcata, because they're very popular as pets. They're very easy to take care of, and they're the third largest tortoise. But they live forever, and so people get tired of them after about 20, 25 years. Anyway.
After about 25 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you got to figure, I mean, our ranger, she was found in a state park with a repaired shell. So we think somebody let her go, or she escaped. Somebody, we think she might have gotten hit by a car, because the whole top of her shell now has Bondo on it. She was found in the state park, and of course, you know, state parks gopher tortoise territory. So, and of course she's a lot bigger than a gopher tortoise. So she had to come to sanctuary. And
Did
but
they
so now
compete, or is it just because
they
she's
would. She
invasive?
would. She was bigger, and she would burrow, and she'd probably take over their burrows and things like that. Because she's going to get big. I mean, our best guess is between 20 and 25 years old, and she's like this. She's much larger than a gopher tortoise, you would say. Like I said, they're the third largest in the world after the Galapagos and the Aldabra. And their name. But anyway, but back to what I was saying. So they're real common as pets, and then people want them to go to sanctuary. But the thing is when now granted we spoil this tortoise rotten, but like when I do a tour, we made her a burrow because we didn't want her digging out, so we made her an above ground burrow, and she gets in there, and sometimes she has a heater in there in the winter. All yeah, those kind of things. And so she'll poke her head out when we come by for tours, and then when I start talking about her, she's just sticking her head out like, hey, yes, that's me she's talking about, and just preens and primps like you wouldn't believe. She likes to climb. We put some sod on the top of her burrow, and then we have like a hose that we can fix up for a shower. And so she'll climb up there when the water's on, and she gets up there and she's taking her shower, and she's like, making all these little noises and wiggling like, oh, this is great, you know. So I mean, it's like, this is a tortoise. You know?
I would not have expected.
I was very surprised myself. So you do, they teach us a lot, and we learn so much about them. And I just, it's a lot. It's so much work. I'm exhausted all the time. Like I said, now that I'm getting to be an old fart, I'm really exhausted.
And you work a full-time job, right?
Not anymore.
Oh,
no, thank God. I still work. I work part-time a little bit, but I worked a full-time job up until, I don't know, a year and a half ago.
It was probably the last time I talked to you.
Yeah, well, no, we
Oh,
saw
yeah,
that.
We didn't get to talk a whole lot during
Yeah,
that.
no, we didn't. Or
Secret
one
stuff.
subject. Yeah, one subject only. So I'm not working full time anymore, which is really made a huge difference. But it seems like Elmira's has like sucked up all of that extra time that I had. So our things like we used to have our chicken delivered. Well, I drive out to Plant City, and fortunately my van will hold about 20 cases of chicken leg quarters, and get some other meats too. And I've been getting it at Sam's and all that. Look at them go!
Man,
I tell you, they've really had some great progress, haven't they?
they have. You're going to have to send me some photos that you've been
I will-
taking.
yes,
of this,
I've
and I'll
got
put it
some-
into this.
Yeah, really, I've got some great pictures. Let's see now. So we have Elmira's. Did I say that? We have Elmira's, and Big Cat Rescue, and Animal Warriors. So Animal Warriors is always looking for volunteers, and you don't have to, do a commitment to a place like here. Here in Elmira's, you got to make a commitment. But Animal Warriors is a great place if people want to volunteer with animals and not have to come every week or whatever. You go when you want to go.
And what do they do?
Well, they go around to different facilities, and not just big cats. I mean, they go Center of Great Apes. In fact, I think we have a volunteer here from the Center of Great Apes.
Oh, wow.
She's got a hat on anyway. They go out to the different, I think they'll go up as far as Ocala, up the forest. And they help out. They do projects, I mean.
They schedule it weeks in advance. So
Yeah,
everybody
it's
can get a
great,
chance to
and you get
signed up.
and then you get your own volunteers out there, and they came out, and one time, right after Ian, they came out. We had blown down fence and stuff like that. They helped us clean all that up, put the new fencing back up, and we worked on the tortoise enclosure, the one that I was telling you about, the big burrow and all that. No, we were working on that, and we added some new platforms and stuff with our serval our Savannah cat. So they have really helped us a lot. They've been out in the last couple of years, and really have helped us a lot. And now I'm starting to get inquiries from your volunteers that don't have as many volunteer jobs as they did. So you were probably going to be absorbing a few of your volunteers as things wind down here.
I'm glad to hear that, because a lot of them had applied to Turpentine Creek, but they require that they have a degree.
Bachelor's degree. Yeah, they have to be
Which
for an
we
intern
never
too.
required.
Yeah, we don't either. So, I think that and plus also a lot of the volunteers here, they're not going to want to move, So we're a little further, but it's pretty easy to get to us. So because you really,
It's all
just
interstate.
Yeah, it's all interstate between here and there. So in fact, it didn't take us, it wasn't long to get here this morning. Now granted, we weren't doing it on a Monday morning, but you know,
Most of the volunteers don't work on weekdays anyway.
yeah, really. So, well, we have volunteers 7 days a week. So we're, thank goodness for interns and things like that, you know, have some weekdays off. But they can, we have a few interns from USF, and then we have a lot from Eckerd College. Eckerd College has an animal behavior lab, and so they do a lot of work with operant and that kind of thing. And they partner with us for interns and with, I think, the Clearwater Marine Aquarium and Fish and Wildlife. And, you know, they do a lot of, they don't, you know, they do animal keeper type stuff, but it's not, they're not being trained for commercial purposes. I mean, they may end up working at an aquarium or something like that, but they're working to take care of animals properly and learn about things like operant and animal behavior and things like that. The job isn't to go out and make money at the zoo.
Are you familiar with Moore Park College and what their...
No.
I don't even, well, I know they still exist. I don't know if they still exist in the way that they did back then, but it was a California college where people would actually pay to go take college courses in animal husbandry and that sort of thing. And the people then were looking to get jobs in zoos after that. And so there's a place that's talking about starting up here in Florida doing a similar type thing, but doing it with a more humane approach toward the animals.
Wow.
And so I'm curious
See how
if you
that
think,
works.
yeah, I mean...
Maybe they'll come buy your property.
I don't think they can afford it.
Yeah, I can imagine. With this location, oh, you guys, yeah. Too bad it's you won't be making any money off the property, but whatever you end up doing with your nonprofit part. So you're going to stay Big Cat. Well, I guess you could change the name, but you're basically changing your focus. See, now I'm interviewing you. Changing your focus.
You tried this before, too.
I know, really. Well, no, I just want to know.
Because you're a boss.
I'm a boss, and I want to know. You know, so you're changing your focus from animal care and rescue to more wildlife conservation and all that kind of good stuff. So, yeah, I think that's wonderful.
The sale of this property will probably enable us to carry on for 20 years.
Oh, yeah, I can
at
imagine.
5 times the capacity that we have right now.
Oh, I'm sure.
So right now we can donate about $100,000 a year to conservation. We're expecting to be able to do $500,000 a year for the next 20 years, and because a lot of that will come off of the interest that the money will earn.
And all the money has to go to another nonprofit anyway. So, really,
So it'll still be Big Cat Rescue.
Yeah. So really, well, that's
It'll
awesome.
be a dumb name for what we do because
Gotcha.
we're focusing on small cat species.
Yeah.
But I guess we can say we're a big cat
Cat
rescue.
rescue. That's right. Yes,
not
we'll
a
just
big
change the
cat
focus from
rescue.
Big Cat Rescue to Big Cat Rescue. Got it right. Okay.
So I don't want to go through rebranding again. I'm never going through that again after 2003. Oh my gosh.
Oh God, I can imagine. Was that when you went from Wildlife on Easy Street to Big Cat Rescue?
Yeah.
So I bet that was fun. Yes.
Oh, it was horrible. And people still remember Wildlife on Easy Street. I mean, it just came right off your tongue like that.
Well, you know, I mean.
So it's hard to make that shift.
you probably do. I don't know. You don't remember meeting me way back then, do you? Back when you were Wildlife on Easy Street. Back when Don was buying and selling.
I know that you and I started out really at odds with each other.
Well, that's because I was still in that commercial mindset, and we were talking about how things have changed, and that's really basically you went from that to this, and then it just took me a while later. It was just me. I did that afterwards, but yeah, because I remember at the very beginning we came out back when, like I said, when Don was buying and selling, and I think we got like some. This was like in the '80s. There were foxes, silver foxes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's how long ago.
Wow.
How long ago it was, yes. So, and I think that with those, that was when I first started kind of getting maybe this exotic animal businesses and all that wonderful kind of thing, was having those, and the care they needed, and not knowing what the hell you're doing with a private pet that's an exotic. And I think that was that was my first exotic, and even then I was like, this is not.
What did you have before that? If you guys.
No, this was at my house. This was
Oh.
before we'd ever met David Kitchen or anything.
Oh, wow.
This was way back. Well, Ted knew Don, and so they we came out and picked up a couple of foxes out here, And we had them in our house, and we built an enclosure outside and all that, but it wasn't fair to them.
Don't
And
they have a horrible smell?
that's why they're outside.
Oh. I didn't have a sense of smell until
Yeah, but they made
recent
they
years.
were not good pets by any means, and we didn't know how to properly take care of a fox or anything. I mean, they one of them I think got heartworms, but the other one lived for a long time. But it wasn't fair, and I think that was the first time. And I don't know what would have happened if, well, I do. You can edit this part out, but I was gonna say I don't know what would have happened if Ted and David had lived. Yeah, I do. I'd be divorced. And I probably wouldn't be in the animal business. You can edit that part out.
But everything in your life is like that. It's just one
little
pivot
thing.
point
Yeah.
that can change everything, and
And it
things
did.
that seem so insignificant. I mean, not a death is
Well, but
significant.
you're right. Yeah. Just I've had a lot of I think about what would my life be like if I'd never moved to Florida, or
Where'd you
never
come
met
from?
to Michigan.
What a difference.
Yeah, well, my mom wanted me to come down here. My mom was trying to get me out of my hometown because I was partying too much. So I came to Florida to party.
Wildling.
Oh, I was. Oh, yeah, you're a fine one to talk. Man, you
I
made me,
referred to myself as a wildling.
I was going to say, you made me look tame. Yeah, I was tame.
Oh, we are telling all.
Yeah, we are. You can just edit all this out. Yes, So see, we have more in common we have more of the past in common than you'd think about, Well, like I said, I mean, Ted really liked Don, he was
Everybody loved Don. He
Yeah.
was so charismatic. I loved Don.
Yeah.
He was such a horrible person, and yet he was just so charismatic. You couldn't
Yeah.
help but love him.
And you think about that. Him disappearing was a real pivot point in your life, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was and right about that time is I think when people started, there was just I blame Steve Irwin, but I'm not a Steve Irwin fan. Everybody
Me either.
loves the Crocodile Hunter, and I'm like, no, y'all don't realize how he turned loose these, Kevin the Lion guy and all those other people by all the animal handling he did. Everybody thought they could be Steve Irwin. And, so anyway, but it seemed like right about that time was when everybody decided they need to have a tiger or a savanna cat or an ocelot or, something like that. You think of Dolores. That was her
Yeah.
name,
Dolores
I mean,
Newman.
what was she doing having all those damn cats up there in Sefner, And so, in fact, two of the cats we have, the two leopards we have that are 19 and 21, are offspring of Dolores Newman's leopards.
Oh wow.
That's how
And
long.
my Siberian lynx that you had was from Dolores.
Yeah, she was. Yeah, she was. So were all the other ones. So, except for one, I think. So yeah, they were all from her. And so, what the heck she was doing having all those cats up there, I don't know. But that needed to stop. And I was now granted, David had already taken the rest of the cats when she had her stroke, and that's part of how we got started. Was before we were sanctuary. Dolores Newman knew everybody that had a cat. She knew them all, and she did a lot of training and all that. And I mean, my God,
Where
the
I
woman
learned
was
to
this
take care of
tall. And but when she had that stroke, she had a ton of leopards and cougars and all that up there. And David went up, and that's when it really started turning into an animal facility. Is David went and got he built all new enclosures, and then he went up to Dolores's house and transported every single animal down there to Dodge City. We still had, when we first moved to the new property, we still had quite a few Dolores cats, but they've all passed away over the years. Well, you figure it's been 20 years since she had the stroke, and the cats were already, a couple years old. None of them were all that
2002
young.
was 21 years ago.
Yeah, 21 years ago, yeah, and the cats weren't babies then, except for the two offspring. And, like I said, now they're 19 and 21. So, yeah. It's hard to believe, isn't it? You think about, like you said, all the tigers that you guys had. I remember when you had a million tigers. It felt like a million tigers.
We took 20 just from the circus. I mean,
Yeah.
we had all those other tigers from
Oh, yeah.
pets and
Right, I know. But you're right. I think you're right about the bell curve. That it did. Right about the Steve Irwin time is when it really did start escalating, including with David and Ted, and they were taking in rescues, really. And then yeah, it kind of reached a peak probably a few years after we moved. I would say right around maybe 2008, 2010, and then it seems to have, I think, because other states, Zanesville happened, and people started becoming more aware. The internet happened. I think that the internet has done a wonderful job at raising. I hate the term raising awareness. It drives me nuts because people, post on Facebook, "Oh, I'm raising awareness," and they post all this horrible stuff. But I'm like, why don't you use your money or your time and raise some awareness instead of posting on Facebook? That's neither here nor there. But no, I do think that the internet has been great for making people aware of the pet problem, but also learning about the animals. I mean, I think about the webcams and how people would just be fascinated with the webcams and watching the animals and everything. And I think that really has made a big difference in that people are realizing. I mean, yeah, they're still breeding Savannah cats, but in general, I'm hoping. And then Siegfried and Roy, that all shutting down. I don't know that there's any tiger acts in Vegas anymore. It's good to see, and I'm glad that Ringling has gotten rid of their animals. That was a miracle. We actually are almost next door to a circus that their storage areas, not their offices, to a circus that does not use animals. And they've actually been some of our biggest supporters. They're acrobats and things like that, and they have a water circus and all this kind of good stuff. And they've been very generous with us because they don't believe in using animals in the circus either. The circus is for human performers.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of they've got 5 traveling shows, and not an animal in one of them. And it's great, and they sell out all the time. People love it. And so you don't have to have an animal perform in order, come to a place like this or like Elmira's.
I think the big change came over in 2003, and that's when the Captive Wildlife Safety Act passed.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of cats that were already born.
Right.
And then usually people who have them get rid of them by the time they're 3 to 5. So
Right.
that fits perfectly with what you saw as that
Yeah.
curve, because people were starting to dump those animals, and
Yep.
now all of a sudden you get these animals coming
Right.
into sanctuaries.
Yep. And then and I think that also the authorities. Fish and wildlife. We don't even go into fish and wildlife. But I do think that with Horseshoe Creek, I don't know how many violations they had before they finally got shut down.
I think it was like 48 or 49.
Something like that. And the reason they go, well, look who came out. Yeah, I heard that. I heard we were ruining Diablo's day.
He's not usually curious.
So yes, that he was. Apparently, they've been here long enough. Well, I
Are
swear.
they ever leaving?
Yeah, I know. But also, I really do think that when you fuck all these people in this work group are all animal people. They're animal keepers, or they're like animal warriors, volunteers, but they love animals and they do it for the animals. And I've noticed when we've been walking around here, and I noticed the same thing when they come out to Elmira's, is the animals don't hide. They're they know that these people are okay.
Nice.
And I can be curious, and I like these people, and I think that says a lot for this group of people, and people who do come out and volunteer.
There was some guru, I can't remember if it was Gandhi or if it was some other spiritual teacher, but they were saying that the way you would know that you have reached enlightenment is when no wild animal fears your presence. And
That makes sense.
yeah,
That does make sense.
What
That
I
does.
think we should all aspire to.
Oh, I agree 100%.
I know that.
Yes, I worked at Camp Bow Wow. I know every dog breed
Yeah,
now.
Bow Wow.
Yeah, that was where I was working full time. Yeah, I was a manager.
What'd you do there?
Managed people. I didn't get to. When I got trained. Well, I worked at the clerk's office for. I worked for the county for forever, and then retired after Ted died. Everything went to hell there, and so I left there, thinking that things were going to go well with Elmira's, and then the economy crashed, and so and everybody died. so next thing you know, we're having to move, and I have no, my income went. And so I went to work for Camp Bow Wow. I did other things. I've been a travel agent and all kinds of stuff. So,
Wow.
hey, I'm versatile. What can I say? But I'm always
You
the
have
boss.
to be in this business.
Yes, but I'm always the boss. And like I said, I'm really tired of being the boss. So, although I do get to sit here and talk to you instead of toting stuff. So yeah, they're all giving me. I can hear my name over there. So that's
It's with utmost reverence, I am sure.
no, it's Darlene.
Oh.
Definitely not. Absolutely. Believe me, there is no reverence when it comes to me. There's more like, hey, we need this. Hey, what
Look
about
they
this?
did there, man.
I know that enclosure's gone. Except the only part that they didn't take down was the part with the roof.
That's going to be the hard part.
Yeah.
All of these that have roofs on them are going
Uh-huh.
to be really hard because that has to come off first, and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah, that's what they were saying.
no
So,
good way to do it.
right.
So
Well, I
are
guess.
they done? Are they taking their
Yeah, I
tour
think they're going to take a break and then a tour. It's 12:15 now.
now? How long have you guys been here? I know since
9.
like 8.
We got here at 9. So yeah, but I think everything ended up going much faster than once they got the groove going. And then we'll look.
I love it.
Plus those over there.
We'll show that.
So yeah.
all that wire.
So yeah, that'll be great. So Stanley will look at it and say, "What are you doing with that?" Oh well, so maybe we need to try. Maybe we can get another day before Victor loads it all up because I know he can carry more than that.
Yeah.
So
Maybe
maybe
we
we.
can probably carry about 3 times that.
Okay, so yeah, we're recording, but we don't care. So Jennifer, maybe we can do another day, and then we'll have Victor deliver all this.
Yeah.
Because I think you can probably get about 3 times that much wire
Yeah,
on
it's not
one
like we're
load.
going to need it next week.